I was called a failure, but the shocking recording revealed a heart-stopping truth. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with whispers. I could feel the weight of their stares, hot and heavy on my back. I stood there, my hands trembling, heart racing as the words ripped through me, "You'll never amount to anything." I gazed out at the crowd of familiar faces, those I thought were friends. They were now just a blur of disappointment and judgment. All I wanted was to escape, to run away from the truth that echoed like a haunting melody in my mind. I could barely breathe as I fought back tears, but I couldn't. They spilled over anyway, each drop a reminder of how I had let them down. My name was tarnished, plastered across social media feeds like a scarlet letter. I had worked so hard, sacrificed everything for my dream to become a writer, but now I was just the laughingstock. The staccato beat of my heart synced with the sharp gasps from the audience. It felt like the world was crumbling down, like the ground was opening up to swallow me whole. Oh, one knew the real story, the countless nights I spent scribbling words that poured from my soul. They couldn't see the pages filled with passion and pain, my hopes buried under their laughter. My father's disappointed gaze flashed in my mind. He had believed in me when no one else did. And now, all I could think about was how I had disappointed him. As I stepped away from the stage, the chatter grew louder. I could hear snippets of their conversations, the barbs cutting deeper. What a failure. Maybe she should just give up. But then, a voice broke through the murmur. Wait. Did you hear about the recording? The room fell silent. A recording? My stomach churned. What recording? My heart pounded in my chest as fear shot through me. Could it be the 2-minute clip from last year's poetry slam? I shuddered at the thought. That night had been electrifying, performing under the flickering lights, the crowd roaring with wild energy. But something about it felt ominous now. There I was, holding on to the mic, feeling powerful. But had I said something wrong? Was there some buried truth that could unravel everything? What if it was all just an illusion? I stumbled back, lazing against the cold wall, trying to gather my thoughts. The weight of uncertainty pressed down like a freight train. Before long, the whispers resumed, eyes darting in my direction, and I knew I had to confront whatever was lurking out there, whatever truth was waiting just beyond my grasp. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. A notification. My hands shook as I opened it. Check out the recording. The truth changes everything. I could hardly breathe. What could it be? My heart raced, a whirlwind of dread and curiosity tightening around me like a vice. I had to see it. What if, just maybe, it held a secret that could redeem me? Or would it only fuel the fire? I stood on the edge of uncertainty, teetering between hope and despair. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. My fingers hovered over the screen, trembling as I contemplated the implications of clicking play. Each second felt like an eternity, and the noise around me faded into a murmur. The weight of the moment pressed against my chest, each breath a struggle against the urgency spiraling within me. What truth awaited in the recording? Was I the architect of my own downfall, or was there a glimmer of redemption hidden in the words I had spoken so eloquently, now twisted by the cruel lens of perception? With trepidation, I pressed the play button. The first few notes of music washed over me like a tide, taking me back to that night, the energy thrumming in the air, the spotlight shining bright against my skin, the audience a sea of eager faces. I had been terrified yet exhilarated, pouring my heart out into verses that lay bare my soul. But as I listened more closely, things shifted. An impossible tangle of emotions gripped my heart as I heard the sound of my voice, confident, raw, but so very vulnerable. The words cascaded over me like a waterfall, and I closed my eyes to sink deeper into its embrace. I spoke of dreams, of fear, and of resilience, moments where the audience had laughed and cheered as I laid myself bare. My truth felt so real, yet their laughter felt hollow now, laced with something sinister. Then I heard it, a whispered commentary from the back, distorted but recognizable. "She thinks she can be someone." It was a voice I knew too well. Emma, a friend-turned-rival who had long felt overshadowed by my aspirations. In that instant, my stomach twisted. Had I really known her, or had I allowed myself to remain blissfully unaware of the darkness brewing just out of sight? I winced, images swirling of old coffee shop hangouts where laughter masked our competitive edges. The recording continued, and the spellbinding rhythm of my poetry wove through the room. But as I listened to the snippets, a chill crept down my spine. The echo of applause had faded into something darker, the shift from admiration to ridicule palpable. Suddenly, my heart dropped. I could hear whispers, indistinguishable murmurs that clawed at my thoughts. In the background, more of Emma's voice mingled with others, sowing doubt. "She won't last," another voice chimed in. "It's just a phase," each word bit at my confidence, unraveling the very fabric of who I thought I was. For a moment, I could feel my knees buckle as the weight of betrayal settled on my shoulders. Fear banded together with anger, and I yanked the headphones away, gasping for air as the crowd swirled back into focus around me, their faces now blurred reflections of disdain, stumbled down the corridor away from the chaos, seeking refuge in a dimly lit alcove that felt miles away from the laughter and judgment. Anguish threatened to pull me under, but there, the flickering light of hope flickered feebly in the distance. Someone had reached out. A brief flash across my mind reminded me of Sam, a fellow writer I had met during a workshop. An unexpected ally who had always seemed to appreciate my authenticity. Then, amid my spiraling thoughts, a familiar presence arrived. "Hey," Sam said softly, enveloping me in the warmth of their gaze, seemingly oblivious to the storm around us. I heard the recording. It was powerful. I looked up, surprised and grateful for their kindness, yet the weight of my vulnerability felt stifling. "You don't know what they're saying, Sam. They're ripping me apart." My voice trembled as I fought back emotion, hope and despair wrestling within. "I know," Sam replied, their tone steady and reassuring. "But you must remember, they can't define your worth. You're more than this moment. You're a storyteller. And stories don't disappear with judgment, they evolve." Their encouragement bathed me in a light, and for a fleeting second, I felt something inside ignite, a flicker of resilience that urged me to rise. But just then, a piercing ring of my phone shattered the moment, startling us both. I fumbled, my breath hitching. A text from an unknown number, bright and glaring against the darkness within me. "You can't escape the truth. The recordings aren't the only evidence. You want the real story? Meet tonight at the old library. I know what you did." My heart raced, panic coursing through my veins. Evidence? What did they mean? Suddenly, the flicker of hope extinguished, and I felt the chill seep back into my bones. I looked at Sam, my confusion and fear mirrored in their eyes. I needed answers, but now the path stretched bleak and foreboding before me, shrouded in uncertainty. "Sam," I whispered, feeling the walls close in. "What if this is just the beginning?" In the oppressive silence that followed the message, I felt like I was teetering on the precipice of something I couldn't quite name. The words echoed in my mind, mixing with the haunting whispers from the recording. "What did you do?" I could still hear those snippets, like an unrelenting echo designed to unravel me piece by piece. "I don't know what to do, Sam," I confessed, my voice barely more than a whisper. The warmth of my momentary connection with them felt distant and fragile now. This just makes everything worse." Sam stepped closer, grounding me with their presence, their sincerity reaching out like a lifeline. "Listen," they said calmly. "We'll figure this out together." The thought of facing whatever awaited at that old library was terrifying, yet the prospect of facing it alone was worse. I glanced at my phone, the unknown number glaring back at me, a dark invitation that promised revelations I hadn't sought but desperately wanted. What if it's a trap? I mused aloud. What if I'm just exposing myself more? Then we'll go together, Sam offered, their resolve unyielding. You don't have to go alone. We're writers, we're used to storms of creativity, and this is no different. Just a different kind of plot twist. Their faith in me was bolstering yet terrifying, the pressure of expectation heavy once more. I couldn't comprehend how to navigate this new terrain where the world felt hostile, where doubt clung to me like a shadow. But beneath that dread, a flicker of gratitude blossomed. I hadn't asked for a support system, but in that moment, I knew I found one. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting deep emerald shadows that danced against the old library's weathered facade, I took a deep breath, steadying my will. A gnawing fear coiled within me like a live wire. Let's go, I said, resolute not only to confront the truth but also the unknown chapters that could repave the path before me. The library loomed high, arching over us with a solemnity that felt like a shared secret between long-lost friends. Dark windows stared unblinking into the night, even the air around us seemed to hum with caution. Sam and I stepped through the threshold, the familiar scent of old paper and dust swirling around us like whispers waiting to be spoken. This place used to be so alive, I murmured, glancing around. Bookshelves stretched endlessly, filled with stories yet to be heard. Now it just feels haunted or waiting for someone to bring it back to life, Sam said gently, encouraging me to see potential rather than decay. I felt their intention wrap around me like a warm blanket. He moved deeper into the building, the flickering lights casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance with our fears. A sudden noise broke the spell. A door creaked open farther ahead, and a silhouette emerged, sharp against the dim light. My heart thudded violently in my chest as I recognized that familiar figure, Emma. Her expression was unreadable, a blend of uncertainty and something darker. I had half expected her presence, but now it ignited a swirl of conflicting emotions within me. Why are you here? I demanded, my voice wavering between anger and vulnerability. I quickly glanced at Sam, but they remained a steadying force, ready to back me up. I came to tell you the truth, Emma said slowly, each word draped in tension. And to warn you that if you don't listen, everything you've fought for will crumble. Everything I've fought for? Or everything you've tried to tear down? I shot back, my heart racing with the weight of old grievances. Tread carefully, I thought. Each word could tip the scales. Please, Emma said, almost pleading. This isn't about us, it's about what's coming. You have to understand. There are more recordings. They're going to leak them. Her voice sharpened with urgency. And there are people waiting for the chance to destroy you, to exploit every weakness they see. You need to trust me, of all people. I fleshed out the memories of our conversations, the whispers of insincerity intertwined with bitter gratitude. I had once called her a friend, yet now I wondered if I was merely another story waiting to be written by her hand, manipulated and cast aside. Why should I believe you? I asked, tracing every crease of her face, searching for the truth amidst her facade. Because I know you, she replied, and for a moment, the fierce resolve softened, revealing a glimpse of an old kinship that lingered in our shared history. And I wouldn't want anyone to destroy your voice because of my mistakes. Please, meet me halfway. Before I could respond, a loud crash erupted from somewhere deeper in the library, sending a spike of adrenaline coursing through me. My eyes widened as the ground trembled beneath us, and I felt the walls closing in. Keep your guard up, Sam warned, eyeing the shadows warily. We don't even know who's watching. My breath hitched. Had someone else been listening? Or was it Emma, revealing just a secret corner of a larger truth? Each fragmented thought spun wildly as I stood between the two fraught moments in my life, taking a chance on Emma's sincerity or seeking shelter in the supportive embrace of my own truth. But the air was thickening, and instinct told me that this moment was no longer just about me, it was about something larger that could change everything I believed in. Yet, as the sound of footsteps echoed through the library, a crushing realization settled in. The truth was coming, and with it, choices would have to be made, decisions that would ripple through our lives far beyond this night. Are you ready for what's next? Sam asked softly, a stark contrast to the chaos emerging around us. No, I replied honestly, bracing for whatever truths awaited me amid the shadows. But just as I summoned my courage, another message buzzed through my phone, more urgent than the last, more sinister than I could have imagined. You've been marked. The truth isn't safe, and neither are you. In that instant, the ground beneath us shifted, and the fabric of my reality seemed to fracture, spiraling dangerously toward the unknown. I could feel the weight of those words pressing down on me, squeezing the air from my lungs. Marked. The notion throbbed like a drumbeat in my head, escalating the already frantic pace of my heart. My hands shook as I desperately contemplated the implications. Who had sent it? And more crucially, what did they want from me? Focus, Sam urged, their voice steady amid my swirling thoughts. I clutched my phone tightly, the screen illuminate my path forward yet shrouded in shadows. Emma remained quiet, returning my gaze with an intensity that felt as raw as the chaos engulfing us. Why do you think they're targeting me? I finally demanded, looking back at Emma, whose expression had hardened into determination. Because they sense weakness, she replied, her voice unwavering. They see the cracks. We need to act before they exploit them. A creeping doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve. Everything you say sounds like a trap, I whispered, almost to myself. What if this is just another game you're playing? Emma stepped closer, the dim light reflecting off her eyes as she took a measured breath. I could have kept quiet, but I didn't. I'm warning you because once the recordings come out, it won't be just your voice they aim to silence. It'll be mine too. I glanced at Sam, seeking the reassurance I so desperately needed. Their eyes mirrored my turmoil but also a spark of hope. Maybe we should trust her for now, they said cautiously. At least long enough to gather more information. We can unravel the mystery together. Whatever is at play here, we should face it united, together, I echoed, testing the word against the weight of my doubts. Let's check the back room, Emma suggested, a sudden resolution in her demeanor. If the recordings are hidden there, we might uncover what we need to turn this around. Reluctantly, I nodded, though the idea of venturing further into uncertainty was daunting. We moved deeper into the library, each step echoing a rising tension that sat heavily in the air. The shelves began to loom larger, tales of forgotten voices surrounding us, while shadows twisted around corners like dark tendrils, urging caution and trepidation. As we entered the back room, it felt like stepping into a time capsule crafted from dust and memories, the air thick with silence, every corner heavy with unspoken words. I breathed in the scent of old pages, its familiar comfort strangely mixed with a rising dread. Over here, Emma pointed to a locked cabinet, its wooden surface scarred with the marks of time. They wouldn't keep something important out in the open. We need to get it open. What's the plan? I asked, the uncertainty cementing an unsettling knot in my stomach. Distract the others, she replied confidently. I'll see if I can find a way to break the lock. Distract the others? What others? A sharp sound caught my attention outside the door, eerily echoing the crash from moments before. Suddenly, the library felt more like a trap, the looming corners shutting us in with whatever darkness lingered just beyond. I'll keep watch, I said instinctively, my heart racing as I pressed myself against the wall. The world felt unsteady and perilous, but the need to defend our fragile alliance pushed me into action. Behind me, Sam watched Emma, an unsettling mix of trust and caution on their features. I wished I could shake off the apprehension that clung to us like the dust swirling in the air, but the growing intensity of my own heartbeat drowned out rationality. With a swift movement, Emma had produced a small crowbar from her bogha tool that felt both sinister and necessary. The flickering light illuminated her determined face as she set to work, her breath steady, purposeful. The sharp sound of metal scraping against wood jolted me from my fixation, pulling my attention toward the door again. Shadows danced outside, distinct forms emerging. We have company, I hissed, adrenaline surging. Just a little more, Emma urged, urgency clear in her voice. I strained to catch a glimpse of whoever was out there, adrenaline coursing through me, heavy with fear. The Figures loomed closer, the flickering lights barely illuminating them. Come on, I whispered under my breath, anxiety sending pulses of desperation through my veins. Suddenly, the cabinet swung open, and a stack of old tapes tumbled forward, littering the ground with plumes of dust. Got it! Emma exclaimed, her relief blooming for a brief moment, until the door handle rattled ominously. All of you, get behind me, I commanded, the protective instincts flaring within me. Sam shifted beside me while Emma remained glued to the cabinet, her fingers trembling slightly. With a determined breath, I positioned myself resolutely as the door swung open, revealing two figures stepping inside, a pair shrouded in mystery yet hovering with a sense of malevolent authority. The air grew thick with tension, all sound seeming to dissipate except for the muffled thud of my heartbeat. Their gazes pierced through me. They were not strangers but instead stood like towering shadows of the past, each a ghost from my dormancy combined with the looming collapse of everything I thought I had shelter in. What are you doing here? One of them snarled, a cruel grin slicing across their face. Mere curiosity, it seems, I murmured defiantly, my voice surprisingly firm even as dread clawed its way up my spine. As the silence coiled tightly around us, I caught a glimpse of Emma's wide eyes, fear and resolve battling within. You shouldn't have come, she said in a trembling whisper, her expression shifting from determination to horror. Before I could process her words, the third figure, a familiar silhouette who had been lurking in the shadows, stepped forward, eyes glinting with recognition. You're too late, they announced with a sinister calm, and a chill cascaded through the room. The real truth is about to come crashing down. And in that moment, I realized how intertwined our fates had become, how every decision was a page turned in a story spiraling out of control. My heart quickened as those integral threads began to unravel beneath the weight of their revelation. Steeling myself, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything, our past, the recordings, the choices before us, was all converging toward a revelation that would shatter my world. And as their twisted intentions seeped closer, there was no escape from the tempest I had raised. With a single moment to breathe, I knew there was no turning back, yet every instinct screamed for me to run. The truth was finally here, threatening to engulf us all. The room was suffocating, the air dense with the unspoken realities that had always lingered just out of reach. I felt the way their eyes dissected Mesharp, knowing, and full of a malevolence that knotted my stomach. Emma stood frozen beside me, caught in a web of emotions, a fragile blend of fear and desperation. Sam's presence offered a small anchor, their solidarity silently radiating support as my own heart threatened to splinter. What truth? I pressed, challenging the ominous tone that coated the air. My voice quavered but held the weight of defiance. I refused to be anyone's pawn any longer. The familiar figure, now close enough to clutch the shadows around them, stepped closer, their features creeping into view like an unwelcome memory. You have no idea, do you? Playing the victim doesn't suit you, they taunted, dripping with disdain. They think you're weak. They think they can crush you. The world momentarily narrowed, their words echoing in my mind, forcing me to face the growing doubts that had settled like a thick fog. What makes you think you know anything about me? I shot back, though the quiver in my voice betrayed my bravado. Their smile widened, a slice of ice cutting through the fragile barrier between courage and despair. Trust me, you will soon realize how right I am. Emma's breath trembled beside me. We're not afraid of you, she declared, finally disentangling her voice from the paralysis that had gripped us all. Whatever game you think you're playing, we're ready to expose it. The tension escalated, crackling around us like the prelude to a storm, when the second figure took a step forward, casting the kind of shadow that felt as heavy as my fears. You should be worried, they said, their voice smooth yet insidious. The tapes you just uncovered aren't magical keys to your salvation, they're shackles that will tie you to your own demise. What do you mean? Sam's voice was softer, hitching slightly with uncertainty, but still glimmering with traces of bravery. The first figure leaned back, relishing our turmoil. Let's just say that not every recording is as innocent as you hope. Some truths are best left undiscovered. I felt the threads of our foundation tremble, realization crashing down like shattered glass. What did you do? I gasped. The same thing you've all been doing. We just beat you to the finish line, the second figure replied, their tone taunting every word, a jagged shard cutting deeper into my resolve. Enough! I shouted, the sound ringing out against the walls of the small room. You want to play games? Fine. But we won't be your pawns. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the back of the room, one I had almost forgotten in the chaos. The librarian, a figure previously a mere shadow in our midst. Parked against a corner, they'd remained curiously silent. With a voice that trembled yet remained steady, they broke through the tension. Please, just leave them alone, they said, stepping forward. They've done nothing to hurt you. The intruders exchanged glances, momentarily distracted, as if their plan had just met an unforeseen crack. And who are you to speak? The first figure sneered. I know what you've done. I've seen you abusing power like thieves in the night. You think these kids don't deserve to know the truth? The librarian stepped closer, their voice rising like a gale. Go on, show them your monstrous side, every secret you hold. In that charged moment, I could feel the tremors of dread and courage weaving together, threads of the past and present intertwining in a dance I had never initiated. What does this mean? I whispered to Sam, seeking their gaze amidst the turmoil. I think they're scared, Sam replied, their voice steady despite the wildness unfolding around us. They've thrived on controlling what we know, and now a crack is forming. The familiar figure shot us a disdainful look, then turned back to the librarian. You don't know what you're asking for. You think they can handle the chaos that comes with knowing? Let them decide, the librarian countered, a fire igniting in their voice. You've stripped enough from them already. It's time the truth sees the light. The audacity in their stance ricocheted through me like a surge of electricity. I felt Sam's grip tighten beside me, and an unexpected warmth flowed from the librarian's resolve, pushing against the shadows that had once held us captive. But before I could even process the shifting energy, the figures exchanged glances, an unspoken communication transferring between them. The air crackled with possibilities, shifting as if time itself held its breath. Very well, the first figure said, a crooked smile creeping back onto their face. Let's see who rises from the ashes. After all, chaos is a marvelous teacher and there's much more to learn. With those chilling words, the two figures stepped back, allowing the door to swing closed behind them, leaving us enveloped in an almost surreal silence. The only sound was our own breathing, punctuating the tension that loomed like a dense fog. The librarian took a small step closer to us, their expression less menacing but no less grave. You need to be prepared. What's coming next? It's worse than you think. An unsettling gnaw settled in my gut. What do you mean? I implored, needing clarity before the tension snapped under the weight of uncertainty again. The librarian hesitated, the flickering light casting shadows over their face, revealing a storm of emotions battling within. I've seen what they can do, what they're capable of. The tapes, they're not just recordings, they are a blueprint for a greater scheme that will entrap you all. My heart raced as hope and trepidation collided, the implications swirling like a maelstrom around us. Wait, what do we do? My voice came out, frantic anguish, and it felt like a precipice loomed ahead, ready to swallow us whole. Gather your strength, the librarian said firmly, their eyes burning with a fierce determination. But know this, the truth can also be a weapon, wielded with care. Just as the weight of their words sank in, there was a shriek from outside. A torrent of voices surged, drowning out the fragile moment we were trying to hold on to. The shadows hummed ominously, an unrelenting darkness sweeping toward us. Something's about to break, I said, scanning the room in a panic. As I turned back, prepared to face whatever new challenge awaited, a piece of paper slipped from the back of the cabinet onto the floor, fluttering like a lost soul. The letters spelled out a name I'd never expected to see. Ren? I whispered, terror whispering through me. And with that realization heavy as lead, my heart sank. The truths I had desperately sought had only begun to unfurl, like sinister threads leading me deeper into the impending storm. With shock grappling my mind, I clenched my fists, the the weight of all our fates crashing down around us, leaving me teetering on the edge of a precipice I had never dared to approach. The air in the room thickened, wrapping around me like a shroud, a whirlwind of confusion and dread rising in my chest. Ren's name lingered in my mind, a silent scream echoing through the chaos that threatened to engulf us. Whatever semblance of safety I felt shattered into a million pieces, and I found myself grappling with questions that spiraled beyond my control. Who is Ren? Emma's voice broke through my haze, sharp and questioning, her features twisted in concern. I shook my head, attempting to block out the lurking shadows. Don't know. I've never seen anything that would connect. My voice faltered, choking on the rising tide of panic. The name felt like a weight tethered to the abyss of my past, secrets locked away only to bubble back to the surface in the most jarring way. As though sensing our fear, the librarians stepped closer, their eyes narrowing with resolve. Ren is connected to the heart of this situation. If you're going to unlock these mysteries, you need to understand who they are. And you will need more than courage, you'll need allies. Why does that name haunt me? What do they have to do with them? I pointed toward the now closed door, dread pooling inside me as I feared whatever was to come next. The librarian's expression softened but remained serious. Ren was part of a group that fought back against the darkness, but they were silenced, manipulated into submission. They knew too much. If they've resurfaced in your life, it means we're approaching a breaking point. They could be crucial in the fight to reclaim the truth. A flicker of hope ignited within me, battling against the shadows clinging tightly around us. But if they were silenced, I can't just reach out to them. What if the words stumbled out, fear overtaking sensibility? What if they don't want anything to do with me? Then you will have to convince them. The librarian's gaze pierced through my uncertainty, instinctively drawing the others closer. You can't carry this weight alone. Ren's voice might be the one to guide you through the storm. Trust in the connection you hold. Suddenly, the tumult outside roared louder, energies colliding as if the very ground beneath our feet was shifting. The shadows, emboldened by impending chaos, seemed to claw at the edges of our reality, plotting their next move. We don't have much time, Sam urged, urgency threading their words. We need to get to Ren, now. Emma clutched my arm, fear radiating off her. Are you sure? What if going out there? What if the truth we uncover puts us in more danger? I took a deep breath, trying to draw strength from the floor beneath me. We're already standing on the edge of a knife. We can't retreat just because we're afraid of what lies ahead. I glanced at Sam and then to the librarian, who nodded, their resolve echoing my own. With that, the door swung open unexpectedly, revealing a tangled web of individuals beyond it. Faces etched with determination and concern, fellow students, our allies, drawn to the commotion. Is everything okay? One of them shouted, wading into our midst with equal measures of curiosity and fear. I recognized Mia, quiet yet fierce soul that had often kept to the sidelines, but tonight there was a fire in her eyes that sparked something within me. Not yet, I replied, heart pounding. But we need all of you. If we're going to challenge the darkness, we can't do it alone. We need to find Ren. A ripple of understanding passed through the group, uniting us in purpose. Hope flickered in our collective resolve, but I could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down each heartbeat, steeped in the knowledge that every step we took could lead us deeper into danger. Right, let's move. Emma shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. We filed out into the uncertain night, determined as we crossed the threshold from suffocating shadows into a world buzzing with risks and possibilities. The cool air hit, sharp and sweet against my skin, racing with electric anticipation. The path ahead hummed with uncertainty, yet as we moved closer to searching for Ren, the shadows behind us surged forward, as if eager to close in around us. Do you think they know? I murmured to Sam, dread creeping sharply into the edges of my heart. They might, Sam replied, worry etching their brow. But we can't let fear dictate our actions, I nodded, steeling myself as we darted toward a nearby alley that led away from prying eyes. Yet with each step, a restless energy hung around us, building like a storm heavy with unspoken revelations. I could feel the flickering shadows trailing us, a reminder of the dangers lurking just beyond our senses. Suddenly, our group halted as a distant voice echoed from the darkened corner of the alley. "You're heading straight for trouble, aren't you?" A figure stepped into view, draped in a cloak of familiarity I hadn't realized I craved. Ren's face emerged from the darkness, their eyes glinting with a mix of defiance and caution. People who seek out the truth often forget the price they'll pay for it. The shock of seeing them sent a jolt ripping through my core. My heart raced, the urgency of this moment colliding with the memories I didn't understand. "Ren, we need your help," I called, the desperation spilling from my words, but their expression hardened, eyes flickering with fear and unspoken truths. "Then brace yourselves. The truth you seek isn't merely aligned with courage, it intertwines with sacrifice. When you dive into these depths, there's no guarantee you can return." As they spoke, I caught a glimpse of the shadows stirring, shadows that seemed to draw closer with every utterance, every revelation. An unsettling realization sank into the pit of my stomach. With Ren staring into our eyes, the storm was upon us, a convergence of uncertainty bearing down like dark clouds racing toward the precipice. And in that moment, just before we stormed into the unknown, I understood that the heart-stopping truth we had sought wasn't just about freedom, it was about facing the very depths of our fears. And then came the echo of a siren, cutting through the night, heralding the storm crashing down upon us like a thunderous wave, reminding me just how very far we still had to go. As the siren's wail sliced through the stillness, everything seemed to grind to a halt, the air heavy with unspoken tension. Ren stood at the edge of the darkness, their presence both a beacon and a warning. The weight of their words hung over us, pressing in like an iron shackle on my chest. My heart raced, torn between the desperate need for their guidance and the myriad of fears that clawed at my mind. "What do you mean by sacrifice?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper, laced with apprehension. The bravado she had exuded moments ago seemed to flicker like a faulty flame now, revealing the fragile edge we all teetered upon. "Each of you carries burdens unknowingly intertwined with this truth," Ren replied, their voice steady, yet tinged with raw emotion. "The shadows are not merely threats, they're echoes of your pasts, regrets you've buried deep. If you're willing to face them, you'll uncover a power within yourselves you never knew existed. But it won't come without a price." Mia's trembling hands clenched into fists at her sides. "What kind of price? What are we signing up for here?" Her eyes danced between the fear of the unknown and the unyielding drive to fight. As Ren opened their mouth to answer, an explosion of sound erupted from the opposite end of the alley, jolting us all. The darkness ahead was slashed through by the glaring beams of flashlights, and muffled voices called out, searching for us. The shadows pressed closer, their whispers curling around our legs like serpents, urging us to retreat or face impending danger. "Have to move," Sam shouted, urgency twisting their face. Now, Ren glanced back toward the approaching lights, their expression hardening. "If we're caught, the answers you seek will vanish, and you'll be forced to face consequences you cannot begin to imagine. Trust in each other, navigate deeper rather than run away." With the sirens drawing nearer, the frightful swell of panic washed over our group again. I ached to trust Ren, to believe that they could lead us to a truth greater than our fears, yet doubt gnawed at my insides. If I stepped forward, would I be walking into the very darkness Ren had warned us about? "Stay close, and don't hesitate," Ren said, urgency sharpening their tone. "The shadows thrive on hesitation. Resist the temptation to retreat into the comfort of ignorance." He plunged deeper into the alley's mouth. The chaos of our surroundings faded as the darkness enveloped us, wrapping around our bodies like an invisible cloak. Each step felt like a descent into a heartbeat of undiscovered truths. Strains of laughter, cries, and echoes of far-off conversations painted a vivid tapestry of life outside our own. But with every footfall, unease thrummed beneath us like an earthquake preparing to shake the very core of our existence. "Keep talking, Ren," I urged, desperation coiling around my words. "Tell us what we need to know." As we navigated through twists and turns, Ren shared fragments of the past, stories of rebellion, whispers of hidden truths, and battles fought with shadows that clawed at the very essence of our souls. It painted a stark picture of those who had walked the same path before us, swallowed by the darkness before reclaiming their light. Yet with every revelation, I felt a deeper dread unfurling within myself. The truth Ren spoke of resonated painfully, tugging at the wounds I thought had healed. Each name they uttered was a lesson lost, a friendship broken, a promise shattered. The realization dawned that our paths had already been laid. The darkness was not external but an echo of our own buried fears and failures. But just as a crystalline shard of understanding began to form, we found ourselves bottled up between two towering brick walls at the end of the alley, the narrow passageway leading to an uncovered world like a hidden treasure chest now firmly locked shut. Now what? Mia gasped, panic creeping back into her voice. What do we do? Ren stepped to the brick wall, fingers brushing against the rough surface as their brow furrowed in concentration. There's a way through. It's a test of your resolve. You must face the truth of what you've buried before. Open the door, and you'll step back into the light, but first, you must confront what's been hidden. What do you mean? Emma's eyes darted around us, searching for answers as heavy silence settled like a fog. Think. Ren urged, intensity flaring in their gaze. What keeps you anchored in your fear? What shadows of failure stalk you even now? Only when you confront these truths will the door reveal itself. In the hushed moments that followed, a deep, resounding silence filled the air, as if the world was holding its breath waiting for the catharsis that was to come. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, the past clawing to the surface, memories fraying like old rope. The loss, the mistakes, the people I had inadvertently hurt, they all loomed large and daunting before me. I failed her, I whispered, almost choking on the words as a tide of regret washed over me. The absence of that one person I had taken for granted surged forth, stirring the storm within. I failed to protect what was important, I continued, my voice growing steadier. I let myself get consumed by my own idealism, thinking I could do it alone. But the truth is, I turned my back when I should have fought around me. I could feel my friends processing their own fears, voices mingling with mine, revealing truths they had buried deep within, their echoes resonating off the brick and into the void. Each confession felt like a key unlocking hidden doors, but just as reality began to shift, and hope flickered with the revelations, a single chilling thought pierced through me. What if confronting these shadows only led us deeper into the darkness we feared? A harrowing notion echoed as we stood on the precipice of our choices, hovering between light and dark. Then everything shifted. A crack ran along the brick surface, a new light spilling through. A sliver of hope birthed from despair, but just before we could breathe in that newfound air, the sound of footsteps thundered in the distance, closing in, reminding us that every truth unlocked came with peril. The darkness was still on our heels. And as the light widened, questions rallied in the recesses of my mind. What awaited us on the other side, and at what cost would we peel back the layers of truth? Would we be ready to face whatever lay beyond? Just then, as we prepared to step through, a voice called out from behind the darkness, chilling me to my core. You're not alone in this pursuit. Legacy and ambition have their eyes on you, and it won't stop until the truth is draped in blood. A realization hit me. Our journey had attracted attention. Forces that had previously danced in the shadows were now circling closer, emboldened by our reckoning, and we were not just battling for answers. The stakes had risen higher, and our fight for the truth was only just beginning. The light spilling through the crack beckoned like a glimmer of hope, stark against the oppressive darkness that surrounded us. Yet, as the chilling voice echoed in my ears, an icy knot of dread coiled tighter in my stomach. Legacy and ambition had their eyes on us? What did that even mean? I couldn't shake off the urgency of the moment as the darkness loomed closer, taunting our fragile resolve. Ren's steady gaze bore into each of us, and I could see them weighing the gravity of our next choice. The flicker of light from the crack seemed to dance with anticipation, almost mocking the shadows closing in around us. Do we go? Emma whispered, uncertainty lacing her tone. The question hung in the air, palpable and thick, as if it reverberated against the very fabric of our reality. Each heartbeat felt like a ticking clock, counting down to an inevitable decision. Together, Sam replied, the hint of courage in their voice rekindling some of my own. No matter what lies ahead, we can't let fear dictate our journey. Mia nodded, her expression fierce despite the quiver of panic still evident in her wide eyes. We have to confront this. We can't run away anymore. Ren stepped forward, palms pressed against the brick, and with a sharp intake of breath, we synchronized our own heartbeats. I could feel the warmth of my friends flanking me, their shared resolve igniting something within an unmovable foundation that felt, perhaps, stronger than any darkness encroaching upon us. On three, Ren said, their voice steady and determined, and I matched my breaths with theirs. 1, 2, 3. With a united push, we leaned into the breaking light, feeling it wash over us like rain after a long drought. I braced for chaos, the shadows of doubt clawing at the edges of my mind. As the crack widened, we stepped through, my senses a light air crisp and invigorating, surrounding us with an unyielding brilliance. The shifting environment unfurled before us like petals blooming in slow motion. We emerged into a clearing, the surroundings vibrant and alive. Golden sunlight poured in, illuminating an expansive field dotted with wildflowers dancing in the wind. Yet, as our senses embraced the beauty, an underlying strain pulled at my heart reminding me that the serenity around us felt fragile, teetering on the brink of crumbling. Where are we? Mia breathed, wonder mixing with doubt in her tone. A voice, steady and familiar, rang out from behind a voice I had not expected to hear. You've crossed the threshold, haven't you? I spun around, eyes wide as I took in the figure standing a few feet away. It was Jamie, a friend I had thought lost to time, someone with whom I'd fought some of my hardest battles and shared the darkest secrets. Jamie. You're alive! I exclaimed, relief washing over me. Alive, but not untouched, they replied, an unsettling coolness hidden beneath their words. You've embarked on a quest for truth. But beware, the truth can be even more dangerous than the darkness you fled. This can't be happening, Emma murmured, uncertainty etched across her face, as if grappling with the sheer impossibility of Jamie's presence. Ren moved closer, curiosity piqued in their expression. What do you know about the forces pursuing us? Jamie's eyes flashed with understanding, shadows whispering around us. They've been watching carefully. The sacrifice isn't just personal, it transcends you. You're part of a bigger play, a tragic legacy of secrets that entwines your destinies. Mia took a step back, feeling the weight of Jamie's haunting words. What do you mean? We're just trying to uncover the truth, but the truth comes at a price, Jamie pressed, and in their steady gaze, I saw a reflection of my own fears. You may find that unveiling these truths will uproot more than you can handle. The shadows are relentless in their defense of the past. As a gust of wind swept through the clearing, the air thickened, a palpable dread filling my lungs. I couldn't shake the sensation that we had stumbled into a treacherous web woven with our own missteps and failures, somehow. Pulling tighter around us, dragging us back into the realm of darkness we thought we had left behind. Before I could process how to respond, the ground beneath us trembled. An ear-splitting roar echoed from the far reaches of the field, tearing through the picturesque ambience with a sudden ferocity. What was that? Sam shouted, panic sparking in their eyes. A dark veil began to emerge on the horizon, rapidly swallowing the light behind it. Tensions escalated as dread coalesced in my chest. Something ominous approached, something that hungered for the truths we were finally beginning to uncover. The conglomeration of my fears threatened to erupt. I hadn't just confronted my own shadows now, the ghosts of our pasts were merging into a fierce storm demanding an accounting. We have to go. We can't wait here, I urged, glancing between Ren, Jamie, and my friends as the darkness surged closer. With every ounce of strength, I fought to remain grounded, pushing against the waves of uncertainty. As we turned to scramble back toward the crack we had come through, Jamie seized my shoulder, locking eyes with me. You must remember, the shadows do not only belong to you, they want to seize every part of your truth. Don't forget the sacrifices you made, because they will shape everything ahead. The realization clawed at meth interconnected threads of our lives woven into this unyielding tapestry of horror. The choices we had made felt deeper now than the surface. They had not only consequences for us but also created echoes reverberating in the shadows. With my heart racing, I glanced back at our small group. knowing we now had more at stake than I ever could have imagined. Facing our truths was no longer the only issue, we were now fighting against an encroaching darkness, and as we pushed forward, racing against the pounding footsteps echoing ever closer, I couldn't shake the shocking thought from my mind. If we failed to embrace our truths, the consequences could drown us all in a darkness far worse than we ever feared. The ground shook beneath our feet as we sprinted, the sound of pursuit echoing in the distance behind us. I fought against the terror clawing at my throat, each thudding heartbeat a reminder of how vulnerable we truly were. The vibrant field that had welcomed us moments before now felt like a trap, its beauty a deceptive mask hiding the chaos lurking just beyond the horizon. "Where do we go?" Mia shouted over her shoulder, her panic spilling into the words. "Anywhere but here," I yelled back, forcing strength into my voice even as uncertainty twisted my insides. I could feel Jamie's steady gaze, a mix of concern and urgency as they matched our pace, their presence a tether that kept me grounded. Veered left, heading toward a cluster of trees on the perimeter of the field, the sun filtering through the leaves casting dappled shadows on the ground. I could hear the roar growing louder, the encroaching darkness now a palpable force, determined to consume us. "Over there," Ren gasped, pointing to a narrow path flanked by thick underbrush. "It might lead us somewhere safe," I nodded, not waiting for further discussion. We dashed toward the path, the fear of being caught pushing us forward. With every step deeper into the woods, the sunlight receded, replaced by a veil of shadow that cloaked the path ahead. Beneath the thick layer of leaves, the ground was uneven, roots reaching out like fingers desperate to halt our progress. "Do you think we're safe here?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper, strained with anxiety. "I don't know," I admitted, glancing back toward the clearing. "But we can't stop now. We have to keep moving." We paused momentarily to catch our breath, the weight of the unknown pressing tightly upon us. It felt as if we were standing at the edge of a precipice, where every choice could mean the difference between survival and oblivion. Jamie, still gripping my arm, seemed to sense my turmoil. "You need to remember what we discussed earlier. There are layers to everything we've uncovered, layers we may still not understand." Their words resonated in the quiet yet grew increasingly urgent, as though they were trying to convey a truth I was not entirely ready to confront. What if we're not strong enough to face it? I found myself asking, surprised by the vulnerability that seeped into my tone. "You have the strength within you." "We all do," Jamie replied, their voice soft but firm, like a warm ember amidst a cold storm. "But you must trust in one another. Only together can you confront what lies ahead." I looked around at my friends, their faces reflecting fear and determination. Beneath the anxiety, I could see a flicker of something else, a shared belief that we could do this, against all odds. Just as hope began to blossom in my chest, the thundering noise returned, growing louder, shaking the very trees that shielded us. I squinted into the gathering shadows, feeling the air thicken with a foreboding chill. As we readied to retreat further into the woods, a haunting cry pierced the air. It was a sound I recognized, a voice from my past, reverberating through the trees like a siren call. "Lena! Help me!" My heart dropped. It was Claire, my sister, the one person I thought I would never have to confront again. The last time I'd seen her was the day she vanished, leaving me tangled in regret and unanswered questions. With every fiber of my being, I fought against the instinct to follow that plea, knowing full well that chasing after it could drag me into an abyss. "Lena!" It echoed again, sharp and desperate. I felt my legs moving before my mind could comprehend. An urgent pull drew me toward the sound, as if the shadows themselves were lifting me from my uncertain path. "No! Don't!" Ren shouted, lunging forward to grasp my arm. I turned to face them, tears welling in my eyes. "But what if she's in danger? What if she needs me?" "Lena," Jamie said slowly, their voice breaking through my spiral of fear. "What you're hearing might not be what it seems. The darkness is deceitful, it uses your past to entrap you." But as I hesitated, the voice climbed in. Urgency, twisting through the trees like a blade. "I need you. Please, what if it's a trap? Sam challenged, eyes wide with concern. I felt torn as memories of Claire swirled in my mind, the echoes of our laughter mixing with the sorrow of loss. There was no greater urgency than that of familial love, yet it was precisely that love that had caused so much pain in the past. Shifting uneasily, I wrestled with the impulse to run toward the voice. Was this an opportunity to discover the truth I had long yearned for, or merely another snare within an ever-tightening mesh of shadows? While I fought against the onslaught of emotions, sudden urgency surged through me. The darkness was closing in, enveloping our sanctuary with terrifying swiftness. "You can't stay here," I shouted, suddenly aware of the wrongness in drawing nearer to that tortured voice. "We have to keep moving." Yet just as I turned to pull away, a chilling laugh echoed through the branches, a sinister melody dancing upon the wind. "You believe you can escape, Lena? The past is never truly buried, and I, too, have secrets to share." As the laughter faded into the shadows, I was struck by the realization our journey had only just begun, and the truths we sought were more tangled than I could have imagined. The dark forces that pursued us were not just mere shadows, they were every memory we had buried, the echoes of mistakes waiting to be faced, and in that moment of clarity, I realized we weren't just running from the darkness. We were running toward the very heart of our buried truths, both exhilarating and horrifying in their potential. Shuddering, I grasped Ren's hand tighter. "Let's go," I urged, the path ahead uncertain but clear. We plunged deeper into the thicket, hearts pounding as the shadows pulsated with the weight of our fears, our secrets, all knowing that whatever awaited us could either bind us closer together or fracture us irreparably. But as we moved forward, racing against the encroaching darkness, I couldn't shake the echo of that voice from my mind, nor the shadow of a chilling truth lurking dangerously close behind us. As we sped deeper into the thicket, the shadows continued to close in around us, an unseen force relentlessly pursuing our every step. The air grew thick with an oppressive stillness, as if the very forest held its breath, waiting for the chaotic storm of our truths to envelop us. My heart pounded relentlessly against my chest, each beat echoing like a war drum urging us forward through this living nightmare. Just as I felt the tendrils of despair creeping in, something inside me ignited a flicker of defiance amidst a storm that sought to drown us in doubt. "We can't let them win," I declared, my voice ringing louder than the fear that threatened to consume us. "Not now." Ren shot me a knowing glance, their presence grounding yet electrifying, a reminder that I was not alone in this fight. I could feel the shared resolve radiating from my friends, a palpable current binding us together as we charged ahead. We were each other's shields, our vulnerabilities cradled within a fortress of courage. But then it happened. An explosion of insidious laughter erupted from the depths of the darkness, reverberating through the trees. "You think you can escape? The truth will consume you whole." The taunting voice sent chills racing down my spine, reminding me just how fragile our resolve was against the onslaught of fear and doubt. My breath hitched in my throat, and I could feel the gravity of our situation pressing down hard. Paused for a moment, hearts racing and minds racing faster, the echoes of malevolent voices swirling around us. "What if we can't escape?" Sam whispered, vulnerability etching their features. "Will we have to confront whatever is chasing us?" I insisted, pushing back against the rising tide of panic. I could feel an invisible current drawing me toward that familiar voice that beckoned from the shadows. The allure of familiarity mingled with a sharper knowledge of betrayal sent splinters of doubt through my resolve. Then, with newfound determination, I took Ren's hand in mine. "Let's split up, we'll cover more ground that way. If we can draw their attention away, we might just find the truth we need." "Are you sure?" Emma asked, her brow knitted with worry. "Every second counts. We're stronger as a team, and we must lean into that strength. Trust me." I met their apprehensive gazes with a fierce determination. "We have the chance to confront our fears on our terms, and we can't let them overpower us." "Well, rendezvous at the Old Oak," Ren suggested, a glimmer of hope threading through their voice. With absent heads, we nodded, and before I knew it, we were off, each of us branching into the shadows, fighting against the darkness that thrived on our doubts. As I darted through the underbrush, adrenaline surged through my veins. Each rustle and whisper in the wind sent a pulse of anxiety through me as memories trickled back like shards of glass. "Lena." The voice echoed again, luring me deeper, clawing at the edges of my sanity. You left me behind, no. You must be stronger than this. I growled under my breath, my heart racing. I refused to be lured into the weakness that had once chained me, the voice of Claire weaving through my consciousness like an insidious vine trying to choke the life out of my resolve. My words felt like casting stones into an echoing abyss, but with each passing moment, I grew stronger. The tangled roots of my past, the guilt, the loss were all fading like whispers against a crescendo of determination. Suddenly, I shifted back, taking in the surrounding silence of the woods. I spotted an ancient oak tree in the distance, its gnarled roots sprawling out like arms welcoming healing. Without hesitation, I sprinted forward, fighting against the burgeoning temptation to turn back. When I reached its base, I found Sam and Emma already waiting, panting but determined. We made it. Emma exclaimed, her eyes filled with a cautious relief. We need to keep moving, I urged, the weight of urgency palpable. Did you see what was chasing you? What do you feel? Sam shifted nervously, their gaze flitting between me and the approaching darkness. I kept hearing Claire's voice too, they admitted, their voice wavering. But I resisted. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks as I opened my mouth to share my own experience, but it wouldn't come out. Instead, the roar of approaching footsteps returned, grinding into our hearts. Together, we can face whatever lies ahead, Ren said fiercely, joining our circle. Awaken the strength that is intertwined in your choices, as Ren spoke. A sense of camaraderie settled in the heavy air, a palpable bond forged beneath shared burdens. I believed in using the story we would rewrite together from the ashes of our fears. Then, something shattered the silence. A dark figure emerged from the shadows, a looming presence engulfed in a silhouette of malice. My heart raced faster, terror clawing at my throat again, but I held my ground. Who are you? I croaked, defiance emanating through me. The figure stepped forward, dark and formidable. I am the reckoning of buried truth. You cannot escape the consequences of your choices, Lena, they hissed, their tone dripping with malice. In that moment, I felt the world fracture around me, shadows writhing and coiling like snakes. Memories flooded back, each regret, every mistake clawing at my senses, advancing like an unstoppable tide stalking me into oblivion. And as the figure loomed larger, I realized how much the past still mattered. I had buried it away, but it was now rising against me to reveal the truth I had hidden, but I would not let it consume me. You may seek to devour me, but I am stronger than the sum of my shadows. I shouted, surging forward despite the weight of every lingering regret. The figure staggered, caught off guard by the strength of my declaration. For the first time, I felt like I stood on the brink of something secrete, a realization that carried the weight of the world, the power of our shared truths. In this moment, we were no longer bound by fear but were co-authors of our destinies. Taking a deep breath, I turned to my friends, who stood resolutely by my side, hearts beating in unison. Let this end now. And as we forged ahead, I felt the power of our collective truth like a blaze illuminating the darkness around us. The shadows recoiled in fear, crashing against the brilliance we had ignited. In that decisive moment, our pasts fused into an unyielding source of strength, intertwining like roots drawn deep into the earth, finally binding us in a way that would either liberate us or expose us to our most significant battle yet. Stronger than our individual struggles, our truths melded together, echoing in harmony as we stepped toward the heart of the darkness, a confrontation that promised to bring what we deeply feared and what we ultimately cherished into sharp, blazing clarity. And in that space of tension, beneath the shadows of uncertainty, we understood truly, the greatest truths awaited us, dangerous yet transformative, just beyond the darkness behind which we now stood ready to awaken as one. Together, I whispered, knowing that whatever lay ahead, we would face it, undaunted, hand in hand, with hearts wide open to embrace the light that awaited us. As the veil between dawn and dusk peeled back, I felt the weight of our shared journey resonate through every vein in my body. And in that moment of clarity, hope unfolded within my heart, a promise that the shadows, no matter how dark, would never hold power over us again. Together, we echoed once more, as our hands interlocked, a reflection of the strength we would carry through each storm to come, reclaiming our voices and truths as our own, a pledge that would reverberate throughout time. And just like that, we strode into the light, our laughter mingling with echoes of resolution, knowing deep within that we were finally taking back everything that had been stolen from us. We were bound to a destiny ignited by our own truths. The end and the beginning of something more profound than any single shadow could ever contain.